Hello everyone. In the last part, we discussed about the post-fertilization events, including development of endosperm. In this part, we will take up the development of embryo. So, post-fertilization events include development of endosperm, embryo, maturation of ovules into seed, and ovaries into fruits. So let us start with the development of embryo. Actually, the embryo develops at the micropylar end of embryo where the zygote is situated. See in this diagram, this is the micropylar end, this is the chalazial end, and in this part, primary endosperm nucleus and zygote is situated. So the development starts from the micropylar end of the embryo. The zygote first gives rise to proembryo and then to globular, heart-shaped and mature embryo. See in this diagram, this is the zygote. This is first is the globular embryo, then heart-shaped embryo, and this one is the mature embryo. Means development takes place and the shape of the embryo changed continuously, and finally it converts into the mature embryo. Now we will study about the structure of digote embryo. A typical digote embryo consists of an embryonal axis and two cotyledons. See in this diagram, these two are the cotyledons, this two are the cotyledons, this one and this one, and it has an embryonal axis. The portion of embryonal axis above the level of cotyledon means this one portion, this one, it is the epicotyle, and it contains the plumule. This one is the plumule, which helps in the formation of shoot. The portion below the axis means this one portion, this is the hypocotyle, and it contains radicle and root cap. Actually the radicle, after the germination, radicle converts into the root. So plumule helps in the formation of stem and radicle helps in the formation of root. This is the structure of a typical digote embryo. In this case you can see that two cotyledons are present, that's why it is dicot seed, two cotyledons, and this is the plumule which helps in the formation of shoot. This one is the hypocotyle, radicle and root cap. Epicotyle is not mentioned here, but this reason is the epicotyle. Now comes to the monocote embryo. Monocote means only one cotyledon is present. So there is only one cotyledon. In grass it is known as scutellum. Grass is actually a monocote, and in monocotes cotyledon is also known as scutellum, and it is situated at one side of the embryonal axis. See in this diagram, this is the monocote embryo and this one is the scutellum. This one cotyledon is here and it is known as scutellum. Here at the lower end, the embryonal axis has the radicle and the root cap enclosed in coleorhiza. See in this diagram, this one is the radicle and radicle is covered by root cap. This one is the radicle, this is the root cap, and finally it is covered by coleorhiza. This is on the lower side, and on the upper side there is shoot apex. This is the shoot apex, and shoot apex is covered with the coleoptile region. So this is very much important. And the diagram of monocote embryo, this one is the scutellum, it is actually the cotyledon. This is the radicle, which is covered by root cap, and further it is covered by coleorhiza, and this one is the shoot apex, which is covered by coleoptile. So at the lower end, the embryonal axis has the radicle and root cap enclosed in coleorhiza, and the epicotyle lies above the level of scutellum and has the shoot apex and leaf primordia enclosed in hollow structure called coleoptile. As you can see in this diagram, this is the coleoptile and this is the shoot apex. So these are the development of monocote and dicote embryo. After that we will discuss about seeds and fruits. Ovules converts into seeds and ovary converts into fruits. So let us start with the development of seed. Actually it is the last stage of sexual reproduction in angiosperm. Seeds are the fertilized ovule that are developed inside a fruit. If you remember the diagram of embryo sac is enclosed in the ovule. This one is the ovule, you can say. So this ovule converts into the seed, and ovule is present inside the ovary. So ovary converts into the fruit. Actually a seed consists of seed coat, cotyledons and embryonal axis. Seeds may be albuminous or they may be non-albuminous, based on the presence of endosperm present or absent. Endosperm, actually it is the nutritive tissue which provide nourishment to the developing embryo. If the endosperm remains after the formation of seed, then this type of seed is known as endospermic seeds, or you can say albuminous seeds. And in which the endosperm is absent, means it is consumed by the growing embryo, as in pea and beans, then it is known as non-albuminous and non-endospermic seeds. Some seeds such as black pepper and wheat have remnants of nucellus. Nucellus, as I told you in the previous video, that endosperm develops from one cell of nucellus. Actually, nucellus is the diploid tissue. So, in some cases, nucellus become completely destroyed, and in some cases, remnants means some nucellus remains. So, that nucellus is known as perisperm, and such seeds which have nucellus is known as perispermic seeds. The integuments of ovule. You remember that the ovule has integuments. These are the integuments of ovules. So after the formation of seed, integuments helps in the formation of seed coat, means covering of seed, and the micropyle facilitate the entry of oxygen and water into the seeds. The end which is present on the lower side micropyle, for example, if this one is the ovule, so pollen tube enters from here, na, this is the micropylar end. So at this end a hole is present, a small hole that helps in the entry of oxygen and water into the seeds. As it loses moisture, the seed may enter dormancy. Sometimes what happens, the seed doesn't germinate just after formation, it goes under a state of dormancy. Dormancy means inactive stage. At that time seed doesn't germinate, and when the favorable condition exists, it germinates. So dormancy is that stage. You can say dormancy is the inactive stage of the seed. Now comes to the development of fruit. The ovary of a flower develops into a fruit. The ovary in which ovules are present. Ovules converts into seed and ovary converts into fruit. The walls of ovary transform into the wall of fruit, and that is known as pericarp. Don't confuse between these two terms, pericarp and perisperm. Perisperm is the persistence nucellus, or you can say remnants of nucellus, whereas pericarp is the outer covering of fruit. Fruit may be fleshy as in mango and orange, and can be dry as in groundnut and mustard. You are aware about dry fruits and fleshy fruits. In some parts, floral parts other than ovary takes part in fruit formation. Normally, the ovary converts into fruit, but in some plants, floral parts other than ovary takes part in fruit formation, as in apple and strawberry. So these type of fruits are called as false fruits, and fruits that develop from the ovary is called true fruit. Means there are two types of fruit. The fruits which develop directly from ovary, that are true fruits, and the fruits which develop other than the part than ovary, maybe thalamus or maybe any other part, they are known as false fruit. Examples are apple and strawberry. Some fruits develop without fertilization. Without fertilization means that in that case fertilization doesn't take place. So such type of fruits are called as parthenocarpic fruits, and banana is the example of parthenocarpic fruit. Next topic is the apomixis and polyembryony. This is very much important topic. Some plants produce seeds without fertilization. The process of seed formation is called apomixis. Actually, in this case, the fruits develop without fertilization. So it is parthenocarpic fruit. And in this case, seeds produced without fertilization. There is difference. There are seeds produced without fertilization, and there are fruits develop without fertilization. So in this case, seeds develop without fertilization. This process is known as apomixis. Actually, it is a form of asexual reproduction, mimicking sexual reproduction. Mimicking means just acting like that, but it is not the actually sexual reproduction. Due to the formation of seeds, we can say that it mimics like it is sexual reproduction. In some species, the apomixis occurs at the diploid egg cell is formed without meiosis and develops into embryo without fertilization. What happens here, that diploid egg cell is formed without meiosis, means meiosis doesn't takes place there, and that develops into embryo without fertilization. In some varieties of citrus and mango, the nucellus cell divides and produces into the embryo sac to develop into embryo. In such cases, each ovule may contain several embryos, means one ovule may contain several embryos, and this condition is called as polyembryony. You can see in the citrus, in the lemon, you can see that one fruit contain many seeds. So apomixis is important for producing hybrid varieties of fruits and vegetables, and also for increasing yield multifold. This is about apomixis and polyembryony. Now this one is an important topic, artificial hybridization. Actually, it is a method to improve crop yield. If we want to increase the yield of crop, we can adopt this method. In this method, it is essential to ensure that right kind of pollen grain are used and the stigma is protected by unwanted pollen grains. It is achieved by, what is the meaning of that? We spray the right type of pollen grain, means which we required on the stigma, means unwanted pollen grain doesn't land on the stigma. In this case, two processes are mainly used, emasculation and bagging. Emasculation, the anther is removed and from the bud and the female parent bear bisexual flower. What is the meaning of that? For example, this is the flower, stigma, style and ovary, and these are the anthers. Clear? So before maturation of anther, the anthers are cut from that side. These anthers are cut by the help of any scissor or anything, and due to which after that the stigma, this one is the stigma. The cutting process is known as emasculation, and after that stigma is covered by a bag like structure, means no pollen grains can enter into that area. This process is known as bagging. You can see here, emasculation means the anther is removed if the female parent bears bisexual flower, and the bagging means the emasculated flower, means from which the anther has been removed, is covered by a bag so as not to allow contamination of stigma by the unwanted pollen grain, means unwanted pollen grain cannot land on the stigma. When the stigma of bagged flower becomes receptive, means they become completely matured, the collected pollen grain are dusted into the stigma and the flower is rebagged, means the pollen grain of desired type will dust into the stigma and flower is rebagged. If the female parent is unisexual, this happens in the case of bisexual, but in case of unisexual, means only one part grows, means either male or female. So in that case, emasculation is not necessary because the anther is not growing there. In this case, the female bud is directly bagged, and when the stigma turns receptive, suitable pollen grain are dusted onto it so as to allow germination. So this is for unisexual flower and this one is for bisexual flower. Actually, artificial hybridization is the very good method for obtaining a hybrid variety of a different species, which may be very useful for the farmers or for us also. So this is the last topic of this chapter. Thank you.